Well, the legs are stiff, but the show must go on. Welcome to day 2 of the Bad Beaver Ultra.
Day 2 started early with a 4 a.m. wake-up call, giving racers time to get their gear ready and have breakfast before tackling the day. If I was to describe the day in a few words, it'd be the beauty and the beast. As you can see from the map, the course was 73 kilometers long, and we spent a lot of that time going up and going down on some of the best trails of Gatineau Park again. From the start to the first aid station, it was about 12 kilometers, and we were tackling some of the same terrain that we had done the day before towards the end, so we were familiar with the route, and people were able to get their legs back under them before they tackled the new stuff. In order to get to the other side of the park, we had to traverse some gravel roads, unfortunately, which were a little busy at times, but eventually we made our way back out onto the trail and stopped at our second aid station to fuel up and get ready for the next part, which was actually an equestrian trail. Normally racers wouldn't get to see this kind of trail because it's reserved for the horses, but we got to enjoy it. Now while it was quite beautiful on there, I will say it was tricky footing because there were a lot of holes from where the horses' hooves go in. The day was already getting quite hot and these exposed sections didn't help much, but luckily along the highway I was able to stop at a store and buy myself a refreshing beverage to keep me going, before plunging back onto the equestrian trail and coming out onto the third aid station, which was at Luskville Falls Trailhead.
So in the spring, this is a beautiful waterfall, refreshing, but today, nothing when we need it the most.
I'm not thinking right now. Let's try to move.
Moving up these amazing rocks.
Lucky for us, this amazing rocky trail leads to some pretty spectacular views from the Yardley Escarpment. This is one of the classic trails of the park and challenges people to their fitness levels before they finally make their way to the top of the hill where the fire tower is located, where people can spot for forest fires. From there, we got on to what's called the number 1, or as I call it, the superhighway. It's basically a very wide gravel path to get to the next trail section, which was the Wolf Trail. Now once again, Wolf Trail is one of those places that all the trail runners from the region head out to when they're training. It's got excellent technical terrain, has a great climb, and spectacular views once again. As you can see here, there's roots and rocks to deal with, so if you're looking to get in some training, definitely head to Wolf Trail. As I mentioned, things were getting very hot, and the next aid station was located at the bottom, but for me, what I was waiting for was the plunge to Meech Lake, which is right at the bottom by the aid station. From this point, we'd covered about 2/3 of the trails for the day, but there was still a lot of running left to be done. In fact, from that aid station, we had to head back up the escarpment along different trails and then come all the way back down, only to finish off at another parking lot just down the street from the one we had been at before. But it also gave me another chance to dive into the lake. From here, it was a road section along Meech Lake itself before jumping onto another trail and making our way once again back upwards and to the top of the mountains. It was great to come across some friendly faces as we made our way along the trails, including the race director. When all was said and done on this day, I had about 3,500 meters of climbing that were done. And with that kind of running, with a backpack on and that elevation, you definitely start to feel it. It's worth mentioning that Gatineau Park is a year-round destination for outdoor enthusiasts. Most of the trails we were on were a combination of hiking trails, running trails, biking trails, snowshoe trails, groom cross-country ski trails, fat bike trails, you name it. To finish off our day of climbing, we made our way up to what's known as Champlain Lookout, one of the jewels of the park where people often come just for the views. From there, we only had to navigate one final section of trail, which took us all the way down to Camp Fortune, which is a ski area and where we'd be spending our final night. As you can see, it was another great single-track trail, and unfortunately finished on a slight uphill, which was really tiring at this point in the day.
So we're here at the end of day 2 of the Bad Beaver. Everyone's just relaxing, recovering, and enjoying their complimentary beers.
To ease with that recovery, there was actually complimentary massages at the end of day 2. In addition, there was another great spread of food, which included a self-serve buffet of pasta, which we all loaded up on. Due to the late finish of the day, we spent the rest of the evening just relaxing and talking to one another. We were going to review the maps for the final day on the next morning. With that, stay tuned for part 3.